What's up, YouTube? J Riz here. Finally got the man on. You guys might know him. Some of you know him, some of you don't. Those viewers across the nation probably don't know who he is, but he's my buddy from Partial. I mean, we're brothers. We grew up together. Kind of the same story with, his name is Francis, but we call him Bigman. We grew up around high school, you know, the high school area. I went to high school with him. We used to skateboard. And I moved away, and I moved back, and it was crazy. Long story short, I was working at the casino, and Bigman here, he came up to me and he's like, "Hey, what's going on, bro?" You know, and then I was working, and I was vacuuming the gaming floor, and I was like, "Who are you?" And he all smiled at me, and he's like, "It's me, Bigman." And I'm like, "Oh shit," you know. I was like, "Damn, all right." Gave him a hug and everything, asked me how I was doing and whatnot. You know, I was dry at the time. I wasn't in a program. And then I moved away. I moved back to Montana. Big Man told me at the time that he was sober. You know what I mean? He told me he was sober. He was doing good. So when I moved back to Montana, I hit a wall. You know, I started drinking again. You know, my go-to, and I was just stuck. So I called Big Man because he gave me his number at the casino. So I called him, 800, almost 1,000 miles away. I called him and I said, "Hey man, can you be my sponsor?" And Big Man said, "It doesn't work that way. You need to find a sponsor in your area and work with him." At the time, I didn't know how the program worked or nothing. I just thought maybe a sponsor was going to keep me sober, make me sober, you know, but it didn't work that way. Long story short, I'm here now. I'm in sober living, and Big Man, he actually came to sober living. You know, he went full circle. He came back, and he's my boss now, one of my bosses. So it was cool. You know, we came circle and, you know, full circle, and here he is now, and I got him on the show here, and he's gonna tell his spiel and tell you what it's like to be an alcoholic in recovery. Without further ado, here's Big Man.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be here. Share a little bit about what I was like, what happened, what I'm like now. You know, as far as I can remember, you know, on the way over here, I was thinking about what I was going to talk about, what was going on. And I really want to discuss a little bit about, earlier today we were talking about this power, or this, you know, as far back as I can remember, man, I was always selfish, self-centered. I was a blamer. I was self-pity, you know. I just seemed to take no responsibility for myself. I was the way I was because of the way I was raised. Because of the color of my skin, where I grew up, how I was shown, you know, I was, you know, and it's such a weird, wonderful thing. And what that brought me up, why I think of the new power flowing into my life, and what has transformed me. It always, my first day back, I'm going to tell a story here. My first day back, I went to a meeting, and Jay Riz was sitting in the corner of the room. I remember it was that cap, and I walked in, and he was discussing. He had just done his 5th step the day before, and he was on fire. You could just see it. And he said a lot of, "I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on, but something is different. I don't know what it is. I did my 5th step. I feel different. I feel weird." And it really is awe-inspiring to a guy or myself, and that's what got me thinking. You know, they say resentment is a thing that blocks me from source. It blocks me from a relationship with myself. It blocks me from a relationship with you, and it blocks me in a relationship with the power granted to myself, whatever that looks like, whatever that seems to be, and I'm baffled sometimes that I'm so grateful. I'm so in awe of the transformation process that has come into my life. The only time I ever was transformed is when I drank booze and did drugs, you know, maybe snagged, you know. And so of course I chased those things, you know. So, you know, I was always looking for, I was an adrenaline junkie, you know, looking for this outside thing to make me feel better, you know. And it could be comic books, it could be, you know, it was always exterior, something exterior, girlfriend, whatever, you know. And as my life progressed, absolutely. And what happened was, for me, is too much of anything can destroy you, you know. I like to tell my drunkalog story, but it's by no means an excuse as why I was the way I was. I can tell you that I was full of fear growing up. You know, I don't know how that happened. I don't know what made that happen. But I can look back now as I look back over my life, I can tell you that every decision I've ever made was based on a fear that I wasn't good enough. I was going to prove to you that I was enough, that you didn't like me, and I was going to make you like me. You know, and alcohol and drugs and women and you name it, man, fighting, you know, whatever the scenario is, they seem to give me just a little bit of power. A little bit of, I thought in my mind, control of this wild world I lived in. You know, I felt like I was, you know, full of self-pity, you know. And for me, my drinking, you know, I didn't have you know, you hear a lot of people talk about having this aha moment and this, I was bulletproof, I was good looking, I could dance, I could fight, and I didn't have that experience. You know, it was just me and my two cousins, and we were drinking in a ditch north of Partial there by the train tracks. And the only thing that I can look back and tell you what happened to me, there was no, it was the phenomenon of I drank more. I just drank and drank and drank, and then I went from 0 to 60. I got out of it. And then I was throwing up, and then I couldn't get out of the ditch. There was so much, there was no fun, there was no chicks, just me, my buddies, my brothers. And I got sick, and in all intents and purposes, from an outside look, so someone looking from the outside in and looking at that experience myself, there was, you know, why would I ever do that again? You know, it mirrored my last drinking. You know, everyone headed out on me. You know, I was too crazy. I talk crazy, and I got sick, and I threw up, and I couldn't. You know, it was in all intents and purposes a horrible experience. And but that was the first thing that happened to me. And I remember they came and got me, and they shagged me home, and I threw up all day. I was throwing up, and they were eating toast and sandwiches, and they were laughing at me, you know, because I drank to excess. And that would permeate my whole life. That I would drink to excess. I would do drugs to excess. I would, you know, and that has been something that in my life that I've always had. And but the second thing, I think the most deadliest thing that I've ever done, or the most deadliest subtle thing that I didn't know was a problem at the time. If you were to ask me for 40 years, 44 years, or 30, I drank for 37 years roughly. 32, I think, or something like that. Anyway, but if you were to ask me why I did it, I could answer, I don't know. Because the truth is, a week later, they asked me to go drink again. And if I was a sane person and a logical person, even now I look back and I can tell you that why. You know, that was a horrible experience. Why would I do that like that? And the answer is, I don't know. Well, they asked me to do it, and I did it, and I had to learn. Right? I had to learn how to handle my mud. I had to learn because I was always an excessive guy, and so my life was spent. Most of my life was trying to control and enjoy, you know, my drinking, and they talk about it. That's the great obsession, is that I will control and enjoy my drinking, and thank God for meth and cocaine, because those things help me do that, and you know, it's been a road, and I did that for many years, over and over. My life looked like I would meet a woman, would knock her up, would start a family. Sometimes I get married, sometimes I wouldn't, and my drinking would just eventually get in the way, and then she'd have to leave, or I would leave. You know, I would walk away from them, walk away from a building where they were, and with my black Samsonite, my Indian Samsonite, my trash bag, and I remember many times. If there was a story of my life, it would be that. It'd be my first baby's mama, my second baby's mama. It could be a college. I remember I got kicked out of college once, or a job. I had some really great jobs. I've had to hitchhike out of town, sometimes in duress. You know, sometimes walking away, people are going to beat me up, so I got to run out of town. And that was my life. I would build this thing and create this whatever, and then drinking or drugs or me would interrupt or interfere or make it unbearable for somebody to live with me or to deal with me. And I was incapable of seeing, and you know, that's the baffling feature of this thing, is I was incapable of seeing that it was alcohol. You know, if you were to ask me why I separated from all my girlfriends and wives and babies, mamas and whatever, I would have told you it was them. You know, the elephant in the room was me drinking, and I don't know why I couldn't see that. I couldn't understand. The people were telling me that my whole life. It just seemed like my ears would shut off, you know. And my life was, I never understood what was happening to me. I thought that was life. I thought this is life. And what it was alcoholism. It was an over and over thing. It was a cycle. It was a, you know, the big book in the doctor's opinion describes it really wonderful. And so for me, I remember, for me, it's all about hope. I had 6 daughters, and I finally had a son. And I remember it was the first time I'd ever told anybody I was going to quit drinking, meant it, but didn't say it publicly. I remember I was holding my son, and that's how selfish a guy I am, by the way. Yeah, I didn't say that at all to my poor daughters. But when I had a son, finally I was like, well, I'm going to straighten up and fly right. I'm going to be the man I was supposed to be. This is the reason. This is, I've been waiting for this, for a moment to stop this shenanigans and start my life and be the father that my father was to me and all this good stuff. And I remember I told him, you know, secretly in my heart, talking to him. I wouldn't tell his mom that or the judge that or whatever. And I had, but, and I was drunk that night. And what I believe that began to do was, it started hope for me. It started the realization that I can't quit, right? Because I wanted to keep this family. We have two beautiful daughters and 2 beautiful sons. And, you know, I had another one. I went back to back, 2 boys at the end. And I remember I was really struggling. I would get up in the morning and say, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to do drugs. I'm not going to do this. And then my wife would go to work, and I was in college at the time, I remember. And by noon or by 3 o'clock, I'd be drinking, you know. And for the life of me, you know, I don't know why. I don't know why that is. And I may never know why. I can't answer the riddle. You know, I know now that I'm an alcoholic, and that's just what I do. I can't think of it in as any other ways. That's how I lived, you know. But I believe if it wasn't for that realization, I'd still be drinking.
Yeah.
You know, because the pain of not being able to quit. I used to go to AA to quit drinking, and now I go to AA because I can't. Right? That's a subtle difference. I realize now that I have to do these things because I can't stop starting again. Right? And the realization it was real for me. And so what happened was, once again, they kicked me out. They had to, you know, they gave me enough warnings. You know, you got to leave. You got to quit, or we got to leave you. And I remember I was 36. I was walking away again, with my stuff and leaving all my things, and it really hurt. And I said, of course, a guy like me, you know, I was in pain. A guy like me that when I'm walking away from these things, I turned right to self-pity, right? I just gave up. I'm not going to tell anybody I'm going to quit. I'm not going to tell anybody I'm going to get a job. I'm not going to tell anybody I'm going to do better. I'm not going to tell anybody anything. I am just going to step into this procession of drunks before me. That I gave it my college try. I gave it the best effort that old I could, you know. And I remember, and I did. I went right to the flop house, the place where everybody boozes, the place that I boozed for many, years or whatever. And I began to be the town drunk. And I let everything go. I gave up. The world is better off without me, and I'm just going to do this thing because I can't get away from it. You know, it's a horrible, horrible pit to be in. To know that you can't. Because I told millions of people that I'd sober up. Right? I'll sober up. But I never told myself that. And then got drunk. Right? Because it was easier to blame others or blame this or blame that. But when I actually said to myself, I'm not going to do this anymore, and I'm a pretty strong-willed man, but I did, and that was the beginning of the end of my drinking in the old style. But so I drank, and I never worked harder. My goal every day was $17 roughly, half a G of vodka, and if we were doing good, I would be drinking Phillips, but mostly it was Kharkov and Siberian Wolf or whatever, Siberian Ice, and I would hustle every day for that. So the object was to ask 17 people for $1, or hit people. I'd get up in the morning and I'd go to them. If you ever did partial, there's the post office. I'd go there early in the morning to hit people up because that's when they get their checks. And then I would make my way up to the grocery store and hit people up in front of the grocery store. And then I would make my way to the bank. And hopefully by 9 a.m. when the liquor store opened, I had made my quota for the day. And I could buy a jug. And that was my life, endless, over and over. I didn't care what the year was. I didn't care what month it was. And that was my life, Alcohol was my master.
So during this time, where were you staying?
I was staying at my Uncle Chicken's.
Oh, okay, just crashing on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
Couch surfing?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I held my Uncle Chicken and my dad hostage.
Okay.
I would be out there hustling like Robin Hood. And then I would come back with a half a G. And they were my hostages then, though, because it was my half a G.
Makes sense.
Yeah, you're drinking with me now. And pretty soon, nobody even cared. I don't care if you have anything. Go away.
Okay.
But I have to be remiss because it's a real story. So I was feeling real, my favorite story of my drinking is how crazy I am in terms of the mind that I had to mind. Is I was sitting around with all my buddies and feeling sorry for myself. We're all drinking. Everyone's getting drunk for days, months, whatever. I don't even know how long. And the thought crept into my mind, and these guys don't care about me. Nobody cares about me. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about me. And these are horrible people, and I'm horrible. This is a horrible life. And so I thought to myself, you know what? This is my thinking as a drunk. I'm going to shit my pants, and I'm going to see who tells me I stink.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked around for 3 days with a big shit ball in my pants. And a shit ball rolled down my pants legs one day. It was itchy, it was horrible. And then this whole time I'm just stuck in this world, this warped, deranged world that I created, that was created around me due to who I was and what I was doing. So yeah, I lived that way for a while. What happened was my cousin, Hank, called me out. He was 9 months sober. He was down in Arizona. Called me out of the blue. I remember I just got hit with a beer can. My third wife hit me with a full beer can and cut my forehead open. And I was barely healing. I remember I was walking around town and I got a phone call. And it was him. And he said, hey, and you could hear it. I could hear it in his voice. Because he's my guy. He's the guy that I said, I'm not as bad as this guy. But he was 9 months sober, and you could hear the cheer in his voice. You could hear the joy in what he was talking. And he was like, yeah, man, I'm down here. Man, I'm down here. I'm doing good. I've been 9 months sober. You should come down. Come down here, man, and hang out. And I'm at the RSC, I believe it was, or something like that, RCS. And I was like, oh, no, I'm kind of busy. Walking around town with no shirt, no shoes on. And but he gave me hope. He gave me hope, and I think that's important. That's important. He gave a guy like me hope because she was like me, and I think that's what saved me because it gave me the courage to say to myself, it's got to be better than this, man. It's got to be better than this. It was, even in my, some of my days, and that hope sprung into it sprung into a mantra of hope that I can change. That hopefully, if that guy can change, I can change. So don't underestimate the power of the hope you bring your family and friends, and the story that you hold and the story that you share may bring hope to somebody that they too can have what you have. Yeah. So and so what happened generally, and this is my God moment. I think everyone should have one. Whether it's in the process, hopefully you're having one or had one or had many. I've had many since this time, many tear-crying, gratitude, humble tears have come from my eyes because of this wonderful life that I've been, by the grace of God, that I don't deserve, that I can take no credit for. And so I was hitchhiking back. Once again, I was hitchhiking out of a place in Montana, Sin City, and once again, my bag, or I didn't have the bag this time, just a pack of smokes. And they kicked me out, or I was walking away, and speaking of the smokes, I'll tell you a funny story. So I'm hitchhiking from Poplar. I get out of town a little bit. There's an approach, and wouldn't you know it, there was a pack of full cigarettes right on the ground. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I thought I'd won the jackpot. You know, so I picked up the cigarettes, I had a lighter, and I started walking. Yeah, I'll walk all night, I don't care now, you know. I had a pack of smokes. And I got a ride to Culbertson, and from Culbertson to Williston, there's a hill that goes up, and it's a slow incline hill. And I had my work boots on, or I don't, you know, my snazzy boots. I was walking, and I started to think what I'm gonna do. Who can I snag? You know, who's got EBT? Who's got housing? You know, who still likes me? you know, whatever. I'm thinking of getting a woman, or getting where I'm gonna go, what I'm gonna do when I get back home. And I had my first God moment, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. And like I said earlier, me walking away from something, I could see my future. And it always ended with me walking away from somebody or something. I could see it, yeah, whatever. I can accomplish a lot, but at the end, on the other end of that, is me walking away again, or getting fired, or getting kicked out, or getting restraining order, or whatever, walking from the jail, or whatever. And I had a moment of clarity that my future was what I was doing right now. That it was never ending, because I could see my past. I think of all the times of when I've walked away from something, or been kicked out, or been asked to leave, right? And I stopped in my tracks, and the first prayer, real honest prayer, was help me, God. You know, I'm sure we've all said it. It's the most universal prayer in all of our, you know. I raised my hands up in the air and I said, God, I don't know what you want. I don't know what to do. I'll do anything you want, but I just don't want to do this. I can't, because I looked forward. I didn't want to go back home. And then I turned around and I was like, I'm not going back there either. So I'm sitting in the middle of the highway. And I had my first God moment, because I said that prayer, and a minute later, a guy pulled up in a pickup truck and said, you need a ride? Wow. You know, and it just hit me. And whether it was timing, whether it was me being hopeless sitting out there with my, I don't decipher it. I took it for what it was worth. I took it as a miracle. I took it as I need your help. And he was like, here. And so I didn't question it. I jumped in the back. I remember I was going to go to treatment and do all this stuff. And I remember crying in the back, and my heart opened, you know, and I just started crying, and I felt power. I felt something than where I was, right? And I'd like to tell you that I stayed sober that day forth, but I did not. One of the coolest things I've learned in this life that I live, this path that we're on, is that you gotta keep your foot on the pedal. As soon as you take your foot off the pedal, man, the car stops moving. Mm-hmm. It's true. It's crazy. Yeah. And so that's what happened. I thought I could coast on this great feeling without doing any work, without doing any whatever. And luckily, I got into treatment. You know, 44 years old, $190,000 in child support debt, 8 babies. Haven't paid child. Hadn't seen one of my children for 20 years. Hadn't seen one for 10. My scorecards were at 0. You know, nothing to nobody. You know, nobody gave a shit that I was going to get sober. Nobody cared, but I did, and I got on the plane with a warrant hanging over my head. I remember I had a charge of possession of a controlled substance. I ran away from that from North Dakota, went to Arizona. And then so I got to Arizona with my head down, no glasses, right? Dirty, just the works. I had $100 in my pocket my auntie gave me. And I went to treatment. And I remember when I got into treatment, there was the guy that would change my life in terms of service and being a man of honor, a man of integrity, Mr. Jared, picked me up at the airport. And we went to the treatment center. And he says, that guy wasn't going to make it.
Look at me now.
Yeah. It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And, because I didn't think I was going to make it. I wasn't sure. I was scared. I was alone. I didn't know if this was going to work. And then, of course, there's the other side, because I'm an egomaniac with an inferiority complex. On the other side, my hustler side, going to snag a Navajo chick or white mountain Apache or something, something down there. Little round mound rebound. But so I got to treatment, and it was a blur. I looked at the floor most of the time, but something happened. My mantra in treatment is always, and even to this day, still my mantra is, I don't know about you, but I used to talk myself out of stuff. I just feel sorry for myself. I feel sad. This stuff's not working. And so I learned in treatment that I started to tell myself to shut up, to be quiet, right? And that saved my buns, right? That really did, because I'm my worst enemy. Even today sometimes. When I sit alone in my room for too long, I'll start talking about crazy. But yeah, anyway. So I came down there, I found the program, and And for me, the reason I'm here is because I did not realize that my life was alcoholism and drug addiction. Now, it's easy to say. It's really easy to, because anybody, are you an alcoholic? I'd be like, yeah, look at me, smell me. Okay, I am. I'm the real deal. But I didn't really understand what that meant. It was like a badge, or even, it was probably even defense. Well, I'm an alcoholic. It's easy to lay on, but when they explain it to me through the literature that I'm insane and that I'm insane and that I have a physical body, mind and body, and that I'm destined to do it, right? I didn't know that. I thought it was the world was making me do it. Or I thought they were making me do it. I never realized that I do it just to do it. That there is no reason. There is no logic. There is no reason why. And once I realized that and seen that, because I was always so baffled. I love my babies, mamas, and wives, and the ladies, and I love my children. Right? I love my job sometimes. I love my college. I love my money. I love me. There was times I had really good, wonderful things, and I got drunk, and I got high. And for the life of me, I could not understand that, right? And then when I realized that alcoholism has me and that I don't have it, I thought it was something I could do about it. And that hopeless pit, step one is a hopeless pit. It's hopeless. It's just like, it hits you like a ton of bricks, And that's what saved me. That's what changed my whole trajectory of my sobriety. To this day, I realize beyond a shadow of doubt that I have no say in whether I'm going to drink or not. It's just that I do these things today, and miraculously, and I say miraculously, wonder is that I don't do it. Right? Crazy. Right. And I love that. There's a mystery, but I don't care about the mystery. I like the results. I don't have to know because I'm a why guy, and why do I have to do this? I always have to know why to do something before we do it, But I was so desperate and dying and scared and remorseful and full of pity and full of anger, and I just wanted my mind to stop. I wanted my heart to stop breaking, and I just wanted my guts to stop burning because I was so mad at the world and so mad at people and mad at myself, right? I wanted it to stop, and I didn't know how. And these people in AA, they look happy. They look content because you can see it in their eyes. Just look in their eyes and you can see it. It comes right out. this loving compassion, this happiness. Like everyone's Santa Claus around here. That twinkle in their eye.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Right.
You know. And I don't know how they did it. I don't know, but they show us. And so miraculously, they took me through the work. And for me, I've been in and out of AA since 1992. Actually, I'll take that back. September of 91. I sobered up in 92. But I read the Big Book a bunch of times. I had done the steps twice, I believe. And what happened was when they explained to me that I'm going to drink again, and once I really understood that I'm going to drink pretty soon here, and there's nothing I can do about it. This is an enemy I can't defeat. No matter if I have money, if I have a woman, whatever. Once I realize that it's going to get me, then the timer's clicking. Is the next question for a guy like me is, well, how do I prevent this? Right? So when I read the book, I was looking for the answer in there. And I was shocked. I was so anticlimactic. You know, this book is just a bunch of prayers, man.
Yeah.
This book's just all prayer. Where's the
answer?
Yeah,
Where's
the answer in here, man? It's a bunch of prayers. Yeah, and as a and true to my word, true to a dying man, I did it. Okay, I started doing it without any know-how or why.
Yeah.
Because the reason I do this stuff is because I still to this day know that a drink is waiting for me. It's waiting for me. I know that because it's true. I see it around me all the time. You know, the farther I'm away from my last drink, the closer I am to my next, right? Because I'm an alcoholic. That's what we do. You know, and if I don't have a higher power protecting me from that, from myself, so to speak, that's what it's all about, you know? Anyway, so I did the work, and something magical happened to me. My whole life has been, like I said, resentment, negative energy, selfishness. I've never thought of others. I never mentioned my kids unless someone else brought them up. I know that is so that's just the epitome of who I was as a person. You know, I never did it. Anyway, so I believe that what happened was I did the work. I did the steps. Step 1 was easy once I understood what I was up against. Step 2, easy. All the steps were easy for me because I knew the truth of what my condition is. And so my other favorite story, this is all about power. Or I shouldn't say power, but it's something. I don't know if it's power, but I know it's something that is unique to, the subtle effects of alcohol and drugs, I think, coincide with this other feeling. Although one is different, but certainly the same. So I'll just predicate it. I was brushing my tooth one morning, got up for work, brushing my tooth, and I just did my 5th step about a week before, right? And I didn't get a big boom and a big, like my brother here, he got a wicked impact of what's going on the very next day. He recognized it right away. Me, I didn't recognize it at first. You know, I was living, because I was still talking to myself, still trying to chew on the fat of an old problem and whatever, just still playing the game with my head, was still playing the game. And one morning I remember I was playing, blah, 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 your shit, or this, you're gonna do this, or that in my mind, all the committee, about 10 people talking at the same time, brushing my tooth, getting ready for the day, and a voice within me, my voice, the silky smooth sounds of me, said, "You're gonna be okay, big man." It was in my words, it was said exactly like that in my head. You're gonna be okay, big man. Now that would have been all and well. Now, I don't know about you, but what happened afterwards, it changed my life. And what happened was, I felt this peace come over me. And whoever said that, and I believe it's my high power, I believe in a creator because the reason is because I look in the mirror every morning and I see it. And nothing is, I see who I am and I see the life I live today, and I know I 100% believe that there is a loving God in this world that loves us. If we, and I felt this powerful feeling. Now, in my rudimentary caveman ways, I thought that was I felt high. right? I got high, and I felt these butterflies, and I felt this thing, and I was like, whoa. The voices just stopped, and I felt, and I can look back now, and I can tell you that was peace and ease and tranquility and serenity and, real though, not synthetic, but actually organic from nature, for however, just from doing some stupid things in a book, right? That blows my mind. So this happened to me, and I remember I got up, I finished, I got ready for work, I was heading to the bus stop, and it wouldn't go away. And nothing else was talking. And I was like, what is this? Am I going crazy or what's going on? And I was sitting on the bus. I remember going to work, and I was like, what is? And I'm going crazy in my head in terms of what is happening to me? Am I going insane? Did some LSD that was stuck in my spine get released? Or did I get a free lapse? Or, what the heck, right? And that reason right there is what catapulted me into sobriety and into the things I do. And there's a guy that speaks about it, but he says, don't leave until you catch the buzz, right? And I can only equate it now I know what it is. It's spiritual inebriation, right? That's what happened to me, that I got high spiritually. And now I've come to realize that you can do it in various ways, right? And I've had little, wonderful examples of that throughout my life, but that was the first one. And I remember thinking as I was going to school bus, I was like, I told my sponsor, it's God. It's God showing up in your life. Like, what? Right? And then we started talking, and I came to the conclusion all by myself in my mind that I like this feeling, and the only thing I've done different in this whole thing is do what the 12 steps has asked me to do. Because you see, I've been in AA for many years. I've been to meetings, I've had sponsors, I've sponsored people, I've read the meeting, I've read the steps off the wall, but I've never actually did them in the book with another person. And I'm not a dummy, but I knew that was true. And what that did was that fired me up. I believe that my sobriety is almost parallel to my drinking and drugging. I fired up to do it, and today, that's what I do today. Today I'm going to go home, and it's such a weird thing. Today I'm going to go home, but I'm going to feel good about myself and feel good about it. Why? Because I carried a beneficial message? No, no, right? Or because, no, the reason I'm going to feel good is because I said I was going to be there, and I was there. It's such a small thing, but it's so powerful. I get the greatest joys out of these little things. I get a great joy out of being honest. Who would have thought that, right? Who would have thought that? I'll tell the truth and I'll just giggle to myself. Because I didn't have to lie, right? I'm a soul-based. Or help another person, or be helped, or, it's just so wonderful. I never knew that life was so full. And so I just had to open my eyes and look around, And because of the 12 steps, they've allowed me to clear away what's not God, to get rid of what's blocking me from an experience with life, right? Because I can tell you that that's what drugs and alcohol did. I do what I do in AA for the effect that alcohol and drugs gave me, except it's richer and deeper and lasts longer. And I don't got to rob anybody. I got to steal anybody. I got to do any of that stuff, and that's the gift. I've been, it's the, Chuck Chambers talks about it being the easiest life he's ever lived, right? And I get up in the morning and I pray and meditate. I send some things out, and I reach the door and I'm in a good mood because I didn't spend all morning thinking about myself. It's a wild, beautiful, beautiful thing, right? And what is that but wonderful? It's what I was feeding myself, right? I was feeding myself me, and I just got sick quick, And I love that, feeling new power flowing. It's amazing. Yeah. It's spirituality is subtraction, I believe. It's demo, It's demolition. If you're going to rebuild your house, you got to demo the house first. And you got to get rid of every black mold and every split 2x4, and you got to get every chip paint. You got to be thorough, and you got to be fearless. And then you get it all demoed out. And then the amazing thing is you don't even get to build it. God does that. You just get to sit and enjoy it, right? I love that. I love that. Yeah.
I remember one thing I would say too is like you got to build your foundation.
Yeah.
Build your foundation first.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
go from the bottom up. Like,
Yes, that's right. And the foundation is honesty.
Yeah.
You have to really be honest about your situation and what you can do about it. Right?
Yeah.
You're screwed and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Right? And I love that. And that's the thing, because I came here. One of the biggest things we do here, what I had to do was I had to put my judgment down. I had to lay my judgment down. I'd walk into a meeting and I was judging right away. Like this,
Yeah.
this. I was looking at people and judging. That's just who I was. And I would walk right out and say, not for me. Right? But when you're dying and desperate and there's nowhere else to go, baby, your mind is open. Alcohol and drugs were beating me into a state of reasonableness.
Mm-hmm.
What was that thing on page 58 again?
Yeah.
That's why I love a good relapse. But yeah.
Yeah.
Any other part?
No, that basically sums it all up. I just wanted you to come and tell a good portion of your story, because Bigman here, he's like, if you guys don't know who he is, he's kind of like a pillar in our community in the three affiliated tribes, because he did explain to us here on YouTube that he was one of the worst drunks on our reservation. He was known when he's walking down the street, people would lock their doors and, oh, Bigman's coming, hi. And he was like the ogre coming down the street, But now he's just, people look up to him, people just ask, can you sponsor me? Can you sponsor me? And I don't know how many times, Bigman's like, hey, you need a sponsee? I got one for you. But yeah, quick story. I'm gonna have my sponsor on. He's my grand sponsor. My sponsor is gonna be on next, and I went to Arizona last year for the Knights retreat, and we were in a big men's group meeting. There must have been 100 plus there, right, at least. Right. And I got picked to go up and talk, kind of represent our little tribe there from three affiliated tribes. So I hobbled up there, and it was crazy because I was in a room full of all these men, just different colors in Arizona. Prescott, I think it was. What?
Yeah, Prescott. Yeah.
It was a men's stag meeting, they called it. And I told my little spiel, and then all of a sudden, I gave props to Bigman and my sponsor, Ansel. I was like, my wonderful sponsor and my wonderful grand sponsor. And then the guy who was hosting, he's like, stand up. And then Bigman and Ansel, they're like, just kind of waved, and they just stood there, just sat there, and they're amongst heads, they didn't even. And I was like, man, it's like, and I finished my spiel, and I hobbled back down, and I was like, kind of, I don't know how to feel. I was kind of pissed. I was confused. I was like, what the hell? So I asked Bigman later on, I was like, hey man, how come you guys didn't stand up? He's like, what did you say? Remember? Do you remember? He's like, oh yeah. He's like, it wasn't us who got you sober. Yeah. It was God. It's like, wow. And I was like, yeah. I was like, damn. Then from that day forth, I stopped looking at my sponsors, and the big book had a big part of my sobriety, but like I didn't see these men as them getting me sober. So from when I started sponsoring, I tell that to my sponsors, I'm just here for you to take you to the big book. If we become brothers and friends after this, so be it. But right now, I'm going to teach you how to use these tools that are in this big book. And that's what I do, And it's to the point where if they want it, they'll get it. God, it's like what step 3 is when you realize it's not you no more. It's going to have to be a power greater than yourself. So I still use that in my everyday life. Like I said before, like without God, I am nothing. And I mean that. It's not no front or anything. Yeah, we just. I thought I'd ask Bigman on. He kind of You didn't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't be on that. No, he didn't say that, but I'm glad he came and Ass had some kind words. I'm really appreciative of Bigman here. He's a big part of my recovery too. You know, I look up to him as not only a boss and a supervisor, but you know, as my friend and my brother. You know, we're actually related. And we grew up together. Like I said, you know, I'm a few years younger than him, but you know, I know him from way back in the day, the early '90s, late '80s, probably. And I was really appreciative to have you on, brother. Oh yeah, I love you. Yeah. Do you have any closing words for our viewers out on YouTube, man?
Yeah, get hopeless. You know, I've seen a lot, you know, it's always the best place to start. Get honest, you know, and good things. And accept help. You know, it's the hardest thing we do. Just accept it, you know, and take help when it's coming. So.
Oh yeah, all right.
Love you.
Love you. Don't forget to hit the like if you like what you see, and if you want to see more, hit the subscribe. Have a good night. Love you.